Okay. Hi, Alexis. How are you today?
Hi, Katie. I'm good. How are you?
Good. So if I remember correctly, I observed you last week, and you were working on story elements with Ella.
Yes.
And you were introducing her to characters and setting, and you had her match the correct setting to the correct character. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when I first began teaching Ella how to complete story retells, I noticed that she really struggled with the elements of a retell, and so and particularly on setting. So I felt that for her it would be beneficial to break down all the elements into separate lessons. And so my past 3 lessons have been on just characters and settings. And we've been doing listening comprehension for the past 3 lessons, and she's been identifying the characters in the setting that we're reading about.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're using listening comprehension and not something at her instructional level?
Yeah, so on the assessments when I did the CRI, she really struggled to read even at the pre-primer level. And even when I did a listening comprehension assessment on that with her, she struggled with that as well. So because of this, I wanted to facilitate instruction just based on listening, rather than having her try to read a text, understand it, and be able to identify the characters in the setting. I figured having her listening to a story would be beneficial, and then trying to build that before going on to her independent level.
Okay, so her CRI indicated that she was reading at pre-primer. And have you exposed her to any reading materials in the reading lab, maybe any books that might give you an indication of what her guided reading level is?
Yeah, so during our second lessons, I was still doing some assessments with her. So I informally had her read about three different books ranging from A through C out of the clinic. And while she was reading those, I had her read them, and I asked her follow-up questions after reading, and she was able to independently answer questions up to a level C.
Okay. Can you tell me just a little bit about how you might plan on incorporating a book at her instructional level in your instruction to get her more involved in the reading process?
So after last week's lesson, I feel now that she's able to identify characters and settings while listening to a story. So for today's lesson, she's going to be reading a book on a level C. Because she was able to do this independently when we did it informally, I'm hoping she'll be able to do it again now. And before she reads, I'm going to model for her how to read and think about the characters in the setting. Because I think that is different, reading on your own versus listening to it and being able to identify that. So I'll have her read page by page and ask her to identify and chart the characters and the settings that she's reading about.
Okay. So let me just see if I have the plan for your lesson correct. So you plan on using a level C text, and you're going to model how to independently read and think about the characters and setting at the same time. And then you'll read and have Ella read and chart the characters in the setting.
Yeah, so while we're reading, prior to her actually reading the text in the book, we're going to look at the pictures, and she'll kind of explain what the pictures are showing, and then read it, and we'll relate how they go together.
Okay. Can you just tell me a little bit about how Ella will chart the characters in the setting?
So I have a graphic organizer already made for her with the headings, names, and places. And the pictures that go with them are the same pictures that we have on all of our retelling pictures and charts. So as she reads, she will just stop and jot down the names or places that she's either seeing in the pictures and or reading.
Okay,
about.
I look forward to seeing how Ella will do using that graphic organizer. What's your purpose and objective for this lesson?
So the book that I chose for today has 5 characters in it and 2 different it has multiple settings, but 2 dominant settings that she should be able to pick up on. So my objective is for Ella to be able to identify at least 3 of the characters and 1 of the settings independently.
Okay. So 3 characters and 1 setting, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as I watch your lesson, what would you like me to be watching in regards to Ella meeting your objective?
I think I'd like you to take notice of how many times I might have to prompt her, since this is the first time she's reading it independently. I'm thinking that I might have to prompt her a few times, so maybe taking notice of how many times I have to prompt her once she gets to the independent part, and if I need to provide any follow-up questions.
Okay, so I can definitely tally the number of prompts that you give to Ella.
Yeah, I think tallies will work. Maybe then also jotting down the questions I might follow up with.
Okay.
That way I have both to refer to.
Okay, so you'd like me to chart the number of prompts you give Ella through maybe tallies, and then take notes on the follow-up questions.
Yeah, I think that'll be helpful.
Okay, what would you like me to take notes on and record the number of prompts?
I can make a chart that I can email to you, and then we'll just print it out before my lesson, and maybe just have like something at the bottom for questions I might have to ask her.
Okay, that sounds great. So good luck tomorrow, and I'll
Thank you.
see you tomorrow.
Okay.